if you are going to watch one wrestling event all year, it's this weekend. WWE Royal Rumble is here from Indianapolis, Indiana. It is going to be a blast. In the main event, it's a Royal Rumble match. It's so much fun. This year, not going to be doing the regular Royal Rumble party that I normally do with some friends and stuff like that. Shout out, fantasy football runner-up, wife. It's her birthday this weekend. Technically Monday, which is why no live stream Monday, by the way, just putting that out there now. But it is it's her birthday weekend, so we're going to be partying, going to be doing some of that. And shocking to me, I know, but that doesn't include a Royal Rumble party for her. So my usual watching of that is going to be changed a little bit. I will gladly help people because we have a game with the Royal Rumble that has turned people into wrestling fans, quite frankly. So it gets people involved and stuff with that. So if you want some tips on that, glad to help. But in terms of the actual show, doing something a little bit different with the breakdown this year, looking at what I would do and what they'll do. And we got to get into some of the surprises and things like that as well, right? Like who are going to be some of the, oh my God, shockers that we get in the Royal Rumble here. So let's not do the big matches first. Let's start at the bottom and kind of work our way up. Tag team titles on the SmackDown side. I think that makes them the WWE tag team titles. It is DIY against the Motor City Machine Guns. I have said before, I think this is a brilliant use of the Royal Rumble. You have a concept that draws people in, that gets people very, very excited about your product, because it is a match maybe unlike any other in wrestling that you just say Royal Rumble tonight, people are going to watch. Old wrestling fans are going to watch because they know what that means. And if you want to try to get some new ones in, it's a great, you introduce them to, on this night, 60 wrestlers that are going to get people going and make it really, really exciting. So I just feel like that is a draw into itself. And so in years past, they've done a pretty good job of, hey, let's just throw something out there that maybe we wouldn't put on a traditional pay-per-view otherwise. But because we already have the draw of the Royal Rumble, we can be a little bit flexible. We can be a little bit creative. They've tried that in the past with, hey, let's see, before Edge was Edge, they gave him a title opportunity. Razor Ramon gets a title opportunity at a Royal Rumble back in the day. This was a chance for them to get a little bit like, okay, let's see this mid-carder. Is there a draw here? Sometimes it was yes, sometimes it was Bob Holly. So you can work with that a little bit. But in this one, you are getting 4 teams in a spotlight event with more people watching than maybe ever before because of Netflix and all of that. And you are giving them a chance to, hey, you know what? Just go out there and be awesome. And I'm pretty sure I saw this was 2 out of 3 falls, right? I want to double check that and make sure. And by double check that, I mean go to Wikipedia again and check to be sure. But I'm 99% sure that match is best 2 out of 3 falls, right? Yeah, 2 out of 3 falls, tag team titles. These are 4 of the best performers in the world. And so to give them this spotlight is a great way. Like, this has potential star-making night written all over it for these guys. The problem is, by the end of the night, we're probably not going to be talking about it, right? We're going to be talking about whatever happens in the WWE title match, in the ladder match, and we're going to be talking about the Royal Rumble winners. But these guys have a chance to steal the show, and they have a chance to put on an unbelievable performance. All 4 of them are so talented. I think this is going to be one of the best matches of the year that we get. The 2 out of 3 falls format lets you be a little bit creative with some things and gives you a little bit of leeway, and then it allows you to create some drama towards the middle part of the match and into the late stages of it, I guess. But I just think with this kind of attention on this show and these performers, they have a chance to go out there and make a name for themselves. Kind of like an Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys at that ladder match in No Mercy. I know that's a comparison I made earlier this week. I think that they're going to have that moment for themselves here this weekend. I think they're going to put it on an unbelievable show. In terms of predictions, DIY come in as the champions. Going to break each match down into 2 parts. What I would do and what I think they'll do. We'll start, this one, it's both. Motor City Machine Guns. I think they'll put the titles back on Motor City Machine Guns. I think that they lose them on SmackDown. It's storyline purposes for building up Gargano and building up Ciampa and continuing them as kind of these heels. But again, I just think because Gargano and Ciampa are a little bit more established with the WWE audience, and Motor City Machine Guns, I think this will be their first premium live event that they'll be wrestling on. That gives them an opportunity to, like, hey, just so you guys know, these guys are a big deal. And how you do that, you get them to win the tag team titles. And so I think this is going to be a classic match. They're going to come out as the new champions. And I think that is a way to just kind of elevate everyone. But I think that this really is going to be a match where all four guys come out of it just feeling like bigger deals than they were going into it. Then we get into the three matches that people are really buzzing about. First, it is the ladder match for the WWE undisputed, but kind of disputed because there's also a world champion, championship. It is Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, ladder match. I can't wait. I am so intrigued by this. I think the build has been spectacular with Kevin Owens and all the different shirts and all the different promos and everything. And it starts as these two friends and Cody has just given KO a shot. And it progresses through some Cody and Roman stuff into the feud of the year for Cody Rhodes outside, like, of the season, I guess, right? Because the Bloodline stuff, it's done. No one was buying Solo. No one was really buying any of the challenges, really, right? Like, AJ Styles, no one thought it was going to be that one that quickly. But this has been the feud of the Cody title run that has really elevated this to a higher level. And now we're seeing a bit of a sea change in Cody's character, where he's feeling like John and Way on the post-wrestling Raw breakdown. He kind of sounded drunk, where he's just tired. And he's like he is. They are telling a story that he is wore down, that he is beaten down a little bit emotionally, physically, and all of these sorts of things. And the pressures of the championship and all of that really wearing on him. And that is such an interesting storytelling device. And so it is getting to the point where Kevin Owens beating Cody is almost doing him a favor to get this burden away from me and just let me be free as a performer again. And so I think there's a lot of interesting stories that you can tell with that and roll from there. And so I think that you have done with Kevin Owens and his promo abilities and his believability and everything like that, you have done a very good job, I think, of creating some doubt that Cody is going to leave the Royal Rumble as the champion. So what would I do? I have talked all week about how you can make a very compelling story going into WrestleMania about Kevin Owens as the champion and build around that. And anything Cody is in, you can still tell without Cody being the champion. But I still think Netflix era, going into WrestleMania season with all of these different things, I think Cody is probably going to get the win. And so I just think, while I greatly appreciate Kevin Owens and everything that he is as a performer and everything he can do as a performer, I think building into WrestleMania and telling some of the stories that I think they're going to tell, I think Cody has to be the guy who is the champion there and continue that kind of story and build up to his almost villain origins on down the line. What I think they'll do is kind of the same thing. I think that there are a lot of stories you can tell with Cody as champion and him starting to get beaten down a little bit. So I think that slight little everything's fine in Cody that we talked about the other day, I think this is just the start of it. And I think he still needs to be the champion to keep that going on a little bit more. That gets us to the Women's Royal Rumble match. I will say they have done a piss poor job of building this one up. The build for the Royal Rumble on the women's side has felt incredibly generic. When you look at how they have done it on the men's side with all the layers and a lot of long-term stories all spidering into this one big event, and it has the chance to blow up in a lot of different ways, that's not happening in the women's match. The women's Royal Rumble is, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. No, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. I'm probably not going to win the Royal Rumble, but I'm going to tell you I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. And I don't think anyone cares if I win the Royal Rumble, but I'm going to say I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. And hey, did you know it's the Royal Rumble? That has basically been it. There isn't this advanced look at storytelling or anything like that. It is just there are 30 people competing in this match, and one of them has to win it. That has basically been the extent of it. In terms of surprises and surprise entrants that we get, I think Jordynne Grace, it's funny to have an obvious surprise, but I think Jordynne Grace probably makes her debut. I know she's trying to hide it on social media where people are saying like, Jordynne Grace 100% is going to be in the Royal Rumble. And she's saying, actually, I'm throwing a birthday party for my mom this weekend, so I'm not, that's not going to be it. I don't think, I'm not buying that one for a second. So I think we get Jordynne Grace. I think we get Mickie James. One that I hope for, I hope we get Gail Kim. I hope that she gets an opportunity to, with this TNA, NXT, WWE thing, I hope that she gets a spotlight and she gets an opportunity to get that kind of recognition that she so very, very well, very, very richly deserves. So I hope that she gets that one. Way out of left field ones, I do wonder if we get a Britt Baker here. I do wonder if there is something along those lines. I think because this match hasn't really been set up as well, there's a lot more room for some of the surprises. Another one that I wonder, and it wouldn't be as big for a lot of people, but they had a bit of that partnership thing with Marigold, and nothing really has come from it since. Aside from, like, Julia got to wrestle on there for a little bit longer before coming to WWE. And so I wonder if you get a couple of performers from there and try to give them a bit of a spotlight and continue on this, like, oh, AEW, you guys have like the forbidden door with all these promotions. We got that too. Here's someone coming in not under contract that is going to come into our Royal Rumble and put on an amazing performance. So I wonder if like Utami Hayashishita gets to come in and do a couple of things there or something along those lines. I do wonder if there is something with that. Admittedly, look, I am not up on Marigold right now. Let's see. What do we got going on for Marigold as their... Dreamstar fighting Marigold right now. Yeah, Utami Hayashishita is their world champion at this point. Mai Sakurai, really interesting personality. Her Stardom run last year was she would go out, she would win a match, and then she would shit talk the hometown. But, and look, I understand, like, oh, wow, groundbreaking thing. It wasn't your local sports team is shit. It wasn't whatever. It was the main cuisine in your area is subpar and you all eat it. So fuck you. I love that. Those are a couple of the ones that maybe you could see kind of popping their way in a little bit. So I wonder if like you get either a Sari or Utami Hayashishita or a Mai Sakurai. I wonder if they kind of pop in. Those would be my bigger surprises. Ultimately, what would I do? You guys, if you've been watching my content at all, you know the name that's about to come out of my mouth. It's Io Sky. She has, I think, really impressed in some roles where no one was expecting her to win a championship. She got the crowd behind her. She got people invested in what she was doing. There was chants. Now, part of that could be how over Liv Morgan was actually as a heel, but there were a lot of chants, and the energy just picked up when Io Sky would really get her things going. And so I think if you want to really solidify her as a main event level performer, you have her win this Royal Rumble and really drive in one more kind of main level performer. And it can be against Tiffany Stratton. I think that would be a really fun match. Rhea Ripley, I think stylistically, you would maybe have some issues. And then eventually, like, I don't know if Rhea's losing at WrestleMania. So if you are going to have Io win it only to lose it to Rhea Ripley, then that might be a bit of a problem. But I do think that, I think that Io, a win here, would really solidify her as a main eventer in the women's scene right now. And they just don't have many of them. And I understand we're expecting a couple to come back, right? But I just don't feel like right now, the main event picture in total on the women's side is Rhea, Liv, and honestly, based on how that feud ended, it's hanging by a thread. And Tiffany Stratton. That's kind of it right now. And that is not a knock on the performers. That is a knock on how they have all been built. Like Naomi, Bianca, and Jade, injured Jade. That storyline has pushed things back to the point where that has been a mid-card thing. I get Nia Jax, they have put her in the main event and she's competed for championships. She's lost now to both champions, but you can still consider her a main eventer, and you can squint and see what they've done with Bayley and say, hey, maybe that's a main eventer too, although she's lost a ton. So there just isn't a whole lot in that main event scene right now that gets you overly excited, and I think you can really create a new star with Io Sky moving her way in. A couple other surprises I forgot to mention before. I think Charlotte Flair, obviously, and I think Becky Lynch probably as well. And then I think from NXT, like Roxy Perez, just kind of has to be. I would be surprised if there wasn't anything there. And Stephanie Vacour. I know I've just listed like 15 potential surprises, but those are the ones that I think might be it. In terms of what I think they'll do, Charlotte Flair, right? Like, we get in the vignettes, she is coming back, they love to push Charlotte Flair, and I know that was a regime in the past, but it's not like Triple H hasn't given her a whole lot either when it comes to NXT and those sorts of things. And so I think when they are looking at making Tiffany Stratton into that main event level performer that we were talking about, having a feud with Charlotte Flair, I think in their minds will really build that up. So I think Charlotte is the one who gets the opportunity at winning the Royal Rumble on the women's side. Which brings us to the men's Royal Rumble match. Again, I said it before when talking about the contrast between the women's and the men's. This one's been set up perfectly. There are so many stakes. Obviously, like the main event of WrestleMania is on the line, but it's on the line and everything. It feels different here. It feels so much more important because of all the different stories they have going on, all the different motivations, and so many of them leading up to a world championship opportunity. That there are going to be a number, I mean, obviously only one wins it. And it is like what we have seen in the NFL, where the Bills got close, but they lost. Seasons of disappointment. The Lions had an amazing run, lost. Seasons of disappointment. Ravens, same thing. Lost. Disappointment. It's going to be that for a lot of these guys. And they have told that story in such an awesome way that it just feels like, well, you can't, like, going through it, and we did the making the case for guys on Wednesday's show. There are so many that you can talk yourself into. And because of that, there's so many that it's like, what? Roman's not going to win? Okay, yeah, let's make it Roman. Well, what? CM Punk's not going to win? They just did a thing with Cody on Monday. Okay, yeah, no, it probably has to be. Yeah, but what about Seth? Seth just did a thing with okay, well, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I guess probably, oh, what, John Cena's in here. You're not going to have John Cena win? Like, you just go on down the line. It's like, well, fuck, like, one of these guys, most of these guys have to lose. And that has done an amazing job. Like, there are times where you get down to that final four, and it's like, any one of these guys can win. Any one of these girls can win. This is going to be awesome. You might get that with 15. Like 30 hits, there's 15 performers left in the ring, and all of them could win, and you wouldn't doubt it for a second. It is an unbelievable use of one of the best storytelling devices WWE has right now, and they are building into this one picture perfectly. And so I think because of that, again, this was brought up on Post Wrestling with those guys. They were talking about it. It makes now the Elimination Chamber feel that much more important because now it's your last chance, and now it's building into that, and now it is putting this importance on just that spot, WrestleMania main event. And I don't know what it is, but it's just the way that it is being talked about, the way that it has all been built up. It all feels like a bigger deal right now because of how good the creative is and everything like that. That everything just, it feels like the stakes just have a little bit more to them. So that is why I am so excited for this one. In terms of surprises that we may get in this one, I don't know if we're going to get a ton. I think because there are so many bigger names in this already, that the opportunity to have, like, oh my God, I can't believe that guy is here, is pretty limited. I do wonder, like, an Obafemi probably gets a look in the Royal Rumble in kind of like the Keith Lee, like, oh, big boy thing. Obviously, they get to the big size a little bit differently. But I think Obafemi, he just has that look, he has that charisma, that it is going to feel like it is a big deal. If Big E is going to make any kind of comeback, it should probably be at the Royal Rumble. Although, again, then you run the risk of, it's probably not, like, it hasn't been built up all that well, and it might get lost in the shuffle when all is said and done. If I said before, if the New Day had gotten rid of Big E, and now they're on this wild winning streak, then I think that could be a whole lot of fun. Spy Canuck, thank you so much. You have a great day as well. Thanks for hanging out here today. I promise to get sportsier next week. This is just such a big weekend in wrestling and in combat sports. We had to do it like this today. But yeah, thank you so much for popping by today, Spy Canuck. I really appreciate it. I think if New Day was winning more, you could maybe tell a thing like, hey, Big E throws these guys out. They've been building all this momentum, and now he has come in and just cut it off and cost them their opportunities at something bigger, and that creates a bit of a feud there. that can get heated up pretty quick if they do bring him in and he throws them all out. I think that's a whole lot of fun. And then maybe they come back and cost him a little bit later, and you can tell a story that way. Again, that is if he is coming back, and I would put money against it. But it's just, we're fantasy booking here. In terms of outside guys, I don't know how many. Maybe Moose from TNA, maybe a Matt Cardona from TNA comes in and has a couple of kind of fun spots in that. I would have suggested PCO until a few days ago before he exploded the Digital Media Championship on a GCW show. I would be surprised if that ends up happening now. We'll get a couple returning legends and all of those sorts of things. Maybe a JBL or a Dudley Boy appearance or something like that. The one that I have a lot of curiosity about, and I didn't see who suggested this, but I do wonder, with Corey Graves going on his ranting and raving on social media, I wonder if McAfee gets in and Corey Graves eliminates him. And we find out that Corey Graves is cleared, and you have one hell of a storyline as a secondary story going into Mania with Graves against Pat McAfee. I wonder if we get something along those lines. That I think that would be a little bit fun. Maybe we get like an X-Pac return or something along those lines. So I don't know if we're going to get a big, like, oh my goodness sort of a thing. Kind of on a similar pace, I guess, to what I was suggesting before with Marigold. Right now, Omos is kind of embattled in this GHC tag team title thing. And there was a controversy because he just handed the belt over to a different team. And Noah is like, no, that's not how this works. So that it feels like that's kind of continuing here. And so because of that, I wonder if we get a Pro Wrestling Noah entrance or two in this one. And again, it's not... They are not a big enough company that's going to be like an, oh my God, sort of a thing. But I do wonder if there's just a bit of a, hey, look at us. Can't be suing us for monopolies and all these things. Look at all the promotions we're working with now. And get those guys kind of on there a little bit, because Omos now going off. And they've done some stuff before, like Shinsuke Nakamura wrestling over there. So I wonder if there's like some kind of a tie-in with them. But now down to the real nitty-gritty of this whole thing. Let's start with what I think they'll do. There are a lot of different ways you can go. The CM Punk one, it almost feels too obvious. In a match where anyone feels like they could win, it does feel like he's the one that if he wins, it's like, okay, we should have known that was coming. And because there are so many options, I just don't know if that's the one. If he is going to be the one that really does end up having that opportunity and doing the main eventing WrestleMania thing and all of that. Now, we've seen you can do it with Cody, where you can kind of go back to that well once again for a second WrestleMania season, but that might get a little bit tired after a while. But I don't think it'll be Punk to win the Royal Rumble. I think it'll be John Cena. The more I have thought about it, they made this big thing, he's going to be in the Rumble, and it's been so quiet. It's been so quiet around them. It has been like they have been trying to get us to forget that John Cena is hanging around and he's going to be it. And so what I think the story is this year is that it's going to be, like I said before, it is going to be like that year where he lost to The Rock. And he's like, I'm starting from nothing here. But this time, like, he's going to win the Rumble. I think he's going to go to WrestleMania. And I think he's going to lose. And then I think we are going to get, from April to December, this push of, look, I've said before, I don't want Ric Flair's record, even though Ric Flair definitely won more than 16 world titles. I don't want Ric Flair's record. I don't need it. I'm just coming out here. I'm going to compete. I'm going to try to do all these things. But I got so close. And now I need it. But I feel like I'm so far away now. And it builds this slow progression toward December. And can he do it? Can he finally get there? And either he does, and then he vacates the title, or whatever storytelling device you want to use with it at that point. But I just think if we want to build this up, have this whole year be really relevant and have some kind of a crescendo, because I can't believe with a John Cena retirement tour that we are going to get John Cena just, oh, well, he did well in the Rumble, but he was one of the last 6 and he got eliminated. And he had this match at WrestleMania and like, it was good, but it was like, it was I was gonna say Baron Corbin. He's not with the company anymore. It was a good match, but it's with Sheamus, and it's just kind of a whatever match. And then like he has a couple things, and maybe it's the Intercontinental title that he's going after, and then he has a match, and it's over. I just don't believe that that's going to be the case. I think this is going to be a major story point throughout the year, and I think if you want to keep it fresh and keep it with some drama throughout the year, that it starts with a win at the Royal Rumble. So that's why I think they'll do it. I think it'll be John Cena. Now, what would I do? The Cena one is interesting. And like I made the case before for a number of different guys who could win it. There's a part of me that is just like, fuck it, man. It's Jacob Fatu. He comes in at number 1. He eliminates all 29 of them. The match is half an hour long because he's just throwing each guy out one after one after one. And he wins the Royal Rumble in the, like, Shayna Baszler in the Elimination Chamber. The most dominant performance you've ever seen. And he is just killing everybody. And by the end of the night, he is the biggest superstar on the planet. There is part of me that just wants to be like, yeah, let's roll with it. Let's do it. Let's go. I don't think they're going to do that. And I wouldn't do that just yet. I think that's, obviously there was a lot of hyperbole in that. I think that that is his spot next year. I think that this is going to be a year of him really establishing himself as this main event guy. And I think we go into the Royal Rumble next year with him being undeniable at that point. I think he has a great Rumble. I think he probably gets a ton of eliminations and all of that. I think we get some kind of a solo thing at heading in WrestleMania season here. And I think we build him up as this kind of unstoppable force going into next WrestleMania season. That's kind of where I think him and Braun Breaker kind of similar spots in that way. So that one is out. You can certainly tell a good one with Roman, with Punk, all of them. I did it before. I would go Rock. I would, and I know I've just done the dramatic whatever for 2 guys now, and that was too much, but I would go Rock. I think that you have so many people just thinking that feud is dead because of what he did at on Netflix and on Raw and all those different things, and hey, it's squashed. I think you can pick that up real quick. And I laid it out before, how I would do it. And I might get a few groans or whatever, but 30, they come out, it's John Cena at 30, and they're going and they're whatever, and then the clock starts ticking again. And it's, okay, what? We just had 30. There's only 30. What are we doing? And at 31, it's The Rock. And he's the CEO or the head of the board or whatever the actual position is that he is. He is the be-all, end-all and the decision maker. He's the guy who can fire referees if they don't do anything, so whatever. He gets to decide that he is the 31st entrant in the Royal Rumble, and he wins. And you set up him versus Cody. And you can tell a lot of interesting stories with what they have set up with Cody, where the burden of the championship, heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? That head's getting real heavy, and all his friends are turning on him. And he's like, you know what? Like, you can see what's happening. You saw what happened to Roman with this title. You see what's happening with you. You've seen what's happened to so many guys that it is just, it's too much. Let me take that off of you. Let me do this. And then it ends up being this big thing. And we're back to the Mama Rhodes and all the bleeding and all the things like that. It's like, hey, eventually it gets into Roman couldn't get it done. I'm going to get it done. And that leads you to a Roman thing. That leads you to this. It leads you to another Cody Roman. And it kind of continues the progression of, is Cody going to turn into the Joker basically at some point and just have this burden be too much for him to have? I think, obviously, the way they've built it this year, there are so many different guys that if they win, it sets up years worth of stories. But I think given how last year went and all the different stuff that you want to kind of tie together, Rock winning, I think puts it all in place to set you up for so many different things to really, really punctuate this kind of new era and the stories that we've been telling over the last couple of years. So that's what I would do at the Royal Rumble. So let me know what you guys think, whether it's in the chat here on Twitch, twitch.tv/primetimepk, if it is in the comments on YouTube or Dailymotion, either of those spots, let me know what you guys would do. I try to reply to all of the chats and, everything in the comments and all of that. Let me know what y'all would do with that particular, or with these particular matches, anything you disagree with, or on social media, Primetime Klein, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok as well, and we have a Facebook page. It is Couch Potato Diary.